Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Reckless Optimist podcast. My name is Meghan. I'm a family nurse practitioner with a deep passion for mental health. On this show, we showcase guests who have shown tenacity, grit, mental strength, and who embody the word resilience. A quick disclaimer before we start. This show is not a substitute for mental diagnosis or treatment. We do recommend that if you're struggling with your own emotional well-being, you see a mental health provider. I'm so excited that you guys are here. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Today on the podcast, we have Meghan. Meghan and I met in the recovery community. I was a guest on her podcast, Sober Strong, and we just hit it off. I had a lot of requests for us to collab again because we had a good, symbiotic relationship. We had good energy together. She is someone that is coming on the show and just laying it all out there. So there's definitely a trigger warning for this episode. We do discuss sexual assault, some really, vulnerable times in her life. She's very open and honest about her relationship with alcohol. She started drinking when she was young. She grew up in a home with parents who drank, and she was a party girl, which turned into, continuing to drink in her 20s. And, I'm proud of her for kind of being really honest about her relationship with alcohol and some of the bad experiences that happened. Not everyone shares those dark moments. And she was really, open and honest about that. So some people, hide that part of their life, but Meghan was extremely courageous in sharing those parts of her story. So I just want to thank her for doing that, because it may not track with everyone, but there's someone out there listening that maybe needed to hear that. Maybe they're experiencing it too. And, seeing her story of going through those things, but then transforming her life. And I think that's what's so cool about this episode and all of the episodes. The common denominator is the people on the show had a certain life and then they completely changed it. And it gives people hope. If you're in a situation right now where you think, I can just never get out of this hole that I'm in, I'm never going to leave this life that I'm in, you absolutely can. And this is an example of how you can, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or whatever, addiction or mental health issue you have going on, you can completely pull yourself out of it. You've just got to be patient. You've got to find the hope, and you've got to ask for help. So we're going to get into Meghan's story, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Let's get into it. Y'all, help me welcome Meghan to the podcast.
Hey guys.
We are so excited to have you on. I know Meghan from the online recovery community. I was on her podcast back in February. She has an amazing, amazing platform, Sober Strong. Check it out. And we just hit it off. I want to tell everyone, when I did that episode with you, I had so many direct messages, swipe ups about me and you and our chemistry that we had, the Meghan and the Meghan show.
Yeah.
I got a lot of requests to collab again, and here we are.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that people reached out to you to get us to collab.
Yes. So we're going to start every episode out like I do with a different quote. So the quote I'm going to give you today is from a book called Atomic Habits, which I know you read. I think we talked about it on your show. Yeah. James Clear. I've read a lot of self-help books. You have too. We talked about this because you did the 75 hard and you had to read during that challenge, right?
Yes. I physically read, and I'm not a physical reader.
Yeah. So I've read a lot. I'm on this self-help kick right now where I've just read, I used to read really scary books and then I would have bad nightmares. So this is one of the books, Atomic Habits, that really stuck with me. And, it gives you practical things to use in your everyday life to help you, get through things. So it's basically 1% better every day, and you can have these remarkable results over time. So the quote is actually from Carl Jung, who is an analytical psychologist from the late 1800s. But he talks about this quote in his book, James Clear does. So the quote is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. What does that quote mean to you?
I absolutely love this because when you sent it to me, I was like, oh my gosh, this stuck out to me so much. To me, it means that if you don't realize what habits or thoughts are running in the background of your life, they'll keep controlling your actions without even knowing it. We might think that life is just happening to us, like it's fate, but really it's our own patterns and choices making things happen. Once we become aware of those patterns and start making intentional changes, we can take back control of our life. I could talk about this book all day long. The book says that every step that we take to be better is, it's bettering our life. There's no instant gratification in anything. You can't go to the gym and work out for 1 hour, 1 day a week and expect results.
Right.
You can't just eat a salad or, 140 grams of protein in one day and be like, oh, I got my protein in.
Right.
Like, you got to do it consistently.
Consistently, yeah. Yeah, no, I love this quote too. It made me like to stop and think. And I think ultimately what I get from this quote is you have to know your own darkness to be able to understand someone else's darkness. So the subconscious controls like 90 to 95% of our life. Like we don't even realize we're doing things or why we do things. And, the subconscious is made from a lifetime of memories and reinforcements and experiences that you've had. So to a way to tap into that and kind of, redirect our subconscious is meditation. Do you do any meditation?
So, all the self help books that I listen to or read really strongly suggest meditation. It's so hard for me to sit still. Like, it is, I have tried. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. I've downloaded the apps. Okay, maybe I'll just, put my headphones in and do it before everybody wakes up. But then I don't know, it's just, I can't sit still. And I know that meditation would be great for me for many reasons, but I've not actually been consistent with it.
That's okay. And I think that's a lot of people's experience with meditation is the hard part is sitting still. So my suggestion is to try guided meditations because then it gives you positive affirmations and different noises and it kind of distracts you. It's a little bit easier way. The other thing I'll tell you is there's not just one way to get sober. So there's not just one way to tap into your subconscious. When we jumped on, you had talked about therapy. So that's another way that you can really get into that part of your brain.
Yeah, I've downloaded the self guide or the guided apps. I
think there's physical ways to meditate too. Like for me, running is a form of meditation, walking, it doesn't have to be where you just sit in a nice smelling room,
Exactly.
Yeah. There's other ways. But I am so excited to hear your story. I was on your show and I was a little chatterbox and shared my whole story, but I am very curious about yours. I know you had a lot happen to you in your life, and I just want to give you the space to share that. So just take us back to wherever you feel comfortable.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I'm usually not on the side of the camera, so it's a little different for me, but usually I'm doing the interviewing and listening. My journey starts back when I graduation of 2002. I was 15 years old and I went to my first party. This is when I first started drinking. I grew up with drinking. It was surrounded by it was just the lifestyle. Lots of domestic violence, lots of arguing, lots of fight, just constant chaos. But my journey when I started drinking, I was 15 years old. I still remember the exact moment that I walked up. My friend is in one room and a bunch of other people. And then I go into this one room and I was like, oh, I'll take a shot. I didn't even know what I was doing, actually. I've just seen people be wasted but I took 6 shots, vodka and tequila. And I go and I find my friend and I was like, woohoo, so cool. And she's like, oh my gosh, Megan, you are going to be feeling that real soon. Little did I know, I went and I laid down on the bed with a bunch of us. We were just laying there staring at the ceiling, laughing, being goofy. And, next thing I know, I was leaving and my dad was at a different graduation party and we had a DD. I get home, I'm puking. I think I puked out the window. My mom comes home from her night shift. She was so mad at me and my dad. She needs to go to rehab. I'm like,
oh my God,
my first time drinking. So I don't know if she was just beyond mad because of how drunk I was, or it was just me and my dad. And that was the beginning of my journey. I didn't prevent my grades. I could have probably done a little better in school. Then I went to college. I went to University of Oregon. And I was literally in the dorm room that Animal House was filmed in.
Oh my gosh. What a great movie.
So the girls on the second floor of that building, we were rowdy. I ended up drinking constantly. Football was I went to be a lawyer. That was what I wanted to be. After the first term, didn't really know what I was doing. All I knew how to do was party. Small town girl. I mean, it's a big university to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
D1 school.
Yeah.
Football was absolutely amazing. That's all I focused on was football and drinking, and my grades tanked and I ended up coming home working. And again, high school was all about drinking, sneaking out. I'm at this friend's house and then we just end up where we shouldn't be. I'm pretty sure one night I actually had alcohol poisoning because I was puking up blood. I played sports, had decent grades. I've been told you are your environment. So yes, I know that I'm my environment. But then I took that environment, I went to college, came home, went to work. I found my same environment and just, I thrived in the party, drinking, wasted. I'm surprised I never got in trouble. I probably drove a few times when I shouldn't have. Fast forward, I met my husband when I was 23 years old. Again, same environment. It was just, I didn't know any different. Like, no different. Our parents drank. Everybody drank. Everybody drank around us. It was just part of who we were. And I mean, I would black out all the time. I was a binge drinker. 21 was just a disaster. You would have thought that I didn't think that I needed to drink as much since I already been drinking since I was 15 years old. So I was terrified of drugs. I was terrified of cigarettes, but I was never terrified of drinking. I didn't know how bad alcohol was for me. It was just a social lubricant, and it was just, just what you do. But heaven forbid I do any other thing because it's so bad for me, so bad. And, you learn as you go. But some of us learn, some of us don't. So 23, I met my husband, and I met him at a coming home party. He just got back from Iraq. And then the next time we hung out was at my brother's graduation, drinking, doing cake stands. And then the next time we hung out, actually the time that he asked me out on our first date was at an alcoholics memorial.
Wow.
So we all went back to my house and drank. I grew up with the family. He was the dad of the kids that I grew up with. Everybody knew he was an alcoholic, and it was really sad because at that memorial, his ex-wife actually said, I know that he is sober now. As we all just drive off, go get our booze, go back to my house, and get wasted.
Yeah.
And it's a sad culture that we live in. Like, we celebrate an alcoholic's funeral by drinking. Everything is celebrated with alcohol. I mean, nobody knows how to do any different, especially if you grew up in it. Everything, it just compounded and compounded, like just drinking. That was how we met, alcohol. And then we got married. I was so hungover on my wedding day that I'm like, was it nerves or was I hungover?
Yeah.
But it was terrible. Like, 'cause the night before, or 2 nights prior to that, we went to Vegas, by the way, and we got married in Vegas. So again, it was just party phase. My bachelorette night, I ended up having to take care of drunk people. The night before our wedding, I went all out, balls to the wall, and woke up so hungover. There's pictures of me drinking champagne the next day. Like, every single picture obviously we don't have all the phones that we have nowadays. Yeah. So good thing, probably. Yeah. But all my pictures probably from 21 on are all selfies of drinking. Everything's just drinking. We got married, came home. There was drama from drinking, got our first house, and ended up having a baby. I didn't drink. That was probably the longest time I hadn't drank since I was 15 years old. And I had her at 7 months. She was 34 weeks and 2 days. Wow. Scariest ride of my life. It was hard getting her. I was on medicine, and, learning now that alcohol probably affected some of that. I was too oblivious at the time to realize that. But as soon as I found out I was pregnant with her, I stopped drinking. I didn't eat the soft cheeses. I didn't eat the deli meat. I didn't do anything. I was by the book. Yeah. So we had my baby shower the end of March, 4 days before I had her. And I had placenta previa. I'm doing everything by the book. Stop drinking, not eating what I, shouldn't eat. And this plays a factor because just the fact that I can go without drinking through all of this, and then I'll get to it. But so went in for a follow-up ultrasound because I just had an ultrasound that week. I had an ultrasound every single week until I was sent to the specialist. I went Monday. The doctor came in. He said, I don't like this ultrasound. I'm going to relook at it myself and I'll get back a hold of you. But if there's any blood, don't even hesitate, get to the hospital. I'm like, holy freaking crap. I don't what is happening? So
your first baby.
Yeah, it's it's a terrifying experience, and regardless. So I finally decided to do Dr. Google. I was like, what is vasa previa? Couldn't sleep. I was terrified. I was like, I can't move. Email the doctor, and I said, I am so terrified. And he said, yes, so am I. But he's like, I'm calling the specialist, and I'll get a hold of you. He called me by 11 o'clock the next day, and he said, pack a bag. You're going down where the specialist hospital was, and I was like, I don't even have a diaper bag. I'm in
Yeah.
a room full of all these dudes. I was doing insurance at the time. We were all in a meeting, and I'm just trying to hold myself together. And I end up staying. They're like, we'll schedule you for 35 weeks. Long story short, I end up having contractions. So at 34 weeks, I was having contractions, had no idea what they were. When ended up having the baby the next day, like terrifying. NICU 16 days, didn't drink during all of that. None of it. Was, even asking the nurses though, like, can I drink? I'm like pumping because she is a preemie. And they're like, yeah, so I learned how to structure my alcohol if I wanted to drink. It's so stupid. Anyway, 16 days in the NICU, she comes home April 15th. My birthday is April 18th. And my cat dies on my birthday, 3 days after I brought my child home.
Oh, no.
Terrified. Like, went through the most traumatic experience that, I don't know. It was pretty traumatic for me. Got through that. My cat dies. I drank a whole entire ginormous bottle of like white Zen or something, whatever it was, because my cat died. So I got through all of that, and then the grief. I couldn't handle my cat dying. That was my first time drinking in 8 months. It just goes to show you that we always have to find an excuse to drink. You can get through some of the hardest times without drinking, but then just one moment can just wreck it. Because, I don't know, if my cat didn't die, would I have started drinking again? I don't know. But that was the moment. Again, this is why I know that I personally cannot ever touch alcohol again, because I went all that time without drinking, and then it just took that one time and I was right back into my patterns. I was scheduling her feedings around my alcohol time. I got wasted way more times than I probably should have, and like with a little child.
Right. Yeah. I think when you're drinking, you can rationalize any behavior. You know what I mean? Because it completely, like we were just talking about with the subconscious, it's ingrained in there, and you don't even like consciously think about some of the decisions that you're making.
Well, I didn't know how to manage my anxiety. My really good friend lost her baby at 10 months old. And after that, I was just a wreck and I couldn't like calm down. But then I fell into the mommy wine culture. I was a Beachbody coach. It's so funny because I just listened to a podcast from Mind Pump. They had Shailene Johnson on there, and she was a Beachbody coach. She talks about it. And it's so true. We are in this fitness industry and we are promoting being healthy, working out, eating right. But here's your wine. Have your margarita. Like, do all the things as long as you're fitting in your alcohol into your macros or your lifestyle. But nobody's telling you how toxic alcohol actually is to you. And here we are like, oh, I'm losing weight and I'm doing these workouts and I'm following these recipes and doing this and that. But, you bet your butt I'm going to freaking make sure I have my wine or my alcohol. After I got sober, I just realized how ridiculous. If you went back through my Instagram after a while, and I was like, all these pictures are of me promoting workouts, eating right, and having my wine. Because I fell into it.
Right.
Subconsciously are promoting, drink this, drink that. And it's totally okay. But nobody's telling us how toxic alcohol is unless, you open your mind to how bad it is. We've all been there. I just look back, and I used to, because I was personal trainer for a couple of years, and my clients would be like, well, do I have to get rid of alcohol? I'm like, no, just change up what you're mixing it with.
Right.
And I go, and like, then once I got sober, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how dumb does that sound?
Right. But you don't know what you don't know. But it is so interesting what you're talking about with the health industry, because I see it in the medical world too. Now people are starting to come a little more to terms with it because of what the Surgeon General came out and said. I think it was a few months ago that, it's a known carcinogen. It increases your risk of breast cancer, colon cancer astronomically. But I think with alcohol, it's the number one killer of all of the, of substances out there. All of them combined aren't even as bad as alcohol is. So to have the health industry promoting that, it's like one is not like the other, right? So that is so interesting hearing it from the Beachbody perspective, because that was a big movement, especially like 10 years ago. A lot of people were doing that.
I still follow some of these coaches, and my mind is just like, you are definitely telling people wrong, but I was too. But when, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. I think it'd be if you knew and were continuing to do it, that's a problem, but now that you are educated and you've lived the life and you understand it, and now speaking out about the harmful effects, like that's full circle.
So, which leads me to 75 Hard.
Yes.
This is not a paid program or
No.
sponsor, whatever, you know. I always
You can sponsor us if you want.
Right? Yes, Andy Frisella. So 75 Hard, for years, my husband was like, Megan, do this with me. Do it with me, please. And I'm like, I'm not giving up alcohol. Are you ridiculous? No, come on.
Yeah.
And so finally in July, so we all kind of like decided in June that we were going to start July 10th, 2023. And so I worked my way up to it. I actually started cutting back alcohol, actually not even consciously. I just like was just not even, I was like, hey, well, I'm going to go into this. Maybe I should start like kind of prepping myself, not really thinking like if I was going to withdraw or anything. Like I didn't think of it. So 75 Hard came July 10th, 2023. And after all the times that I said no, I finally said yes. And I was not going to be the one to fail. I was the personal trainer. I was the one that was consistent with my workouts. I was the healthier one. Like, how embarrassing would that be for me to fail? And then on top of it, they weren't confident in me enough to finish it without drinking. And so I said, screw you all. I'm going to beat this. Alcohol is not going to be why I fail. If anything, it's going to be the stupid picture that that you might forget to take, and which is very, very, very important.
Yes.
Because pictures are worth 1,000 words. If that scale doesn't move, but your body changes, at least you have the picture to prove it.
True.
But reading, like physically reading it's really hard for me. I don't ever make time for it. So that was really hard for me. I figured out my solution was either getting up first thing in the morning and reading, or I would struggle at night dozing off. But if I did it first thing in the morning, I could get my reading done. A gallon of water a day was not hard for me. I drink water like a fish or a camel, whatever you want to call it. And the nutrition I had a grasp on, but it was the biggest one was the no alcohol. And that is where everybody was like, you're going to fail. You're going to drink. So a couple weeks into this journey, we went camping. And I was so mad. I said, why am I doing this? It's not cool. I want to drink. That was my first camping trip sober in years. And so I got through it. I got home. I did. I got home. I unpacked and I cleaned everything. I didn't gain 8 to 10 pounds from eating like crap and drinking the whole weekend, because camping for us revolved around morning to night, drinking and eating like crap. So then I got home and I was like, this is actually kind of nice. And things started like turning. And I think it was about halfway through 75 Hard, I poured out all the alcohol in my house. Okay, not all of it. There was still some weird beers left behind, but I mean, I knew I wasn't going to touch it. So yeah, halfway through, I decided I was done. And people started questioning me. Are you really done? Like, especially when my first video went out, I got messages from so many people like, really? You're done drinking? Are you sure this isn't? I don't ever want to touch alcohol again. I was more confident in my 75-day sobriety than probably somebody that was 7.5 years. I mean, I just knew from the moment something just switched in my brain, I was done with alcohol. And it's been the best decision I've ever made. I was not present with my children prior. My husband always did the nightly duties because I was just outside drinking or busy with my friends. I was just not a present mom. I mean, I was like there when they needed things. I did things, but I don't know. My drinking started actually getting worse. And I think COVID actually is when it picked up. I mean, all of us stay-at-home moms, potty training children.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the stats, I mean, the increase in alcohol use over 2020 to 2022 was like astronomical.
I was definitely one of those stats. I started bartending during COVID, actually, or no, right before COVID started, and that didn't help. I mean, I just saw everybody coming to the bar getting drunk, and I just fell in. It was just a big old rodeo of alcohol. I did start personal training in the end of 2020 and started working at a gym. I was one of the main trainers. I created classes. People were thriving in my classes. My clients were doing absolutely amazing. I thought I found my calling. And then June 21st, 2022 was probably my rock bottom. But that was a really tough time for me because that experience was something that I have avoided being in this position all my life since I was 15 years old. I've been in some pretty sketchy situations and nothing like this has ever happened. But a grown ass human. I was, again, like I worked through therapy, so grooming was definitely a word used for being in the situation. It was, I think the biggest thing that happened was we had a Christmas party, and at that moment, and maybe red flags should have started coming up. Meghan, take more shots, more shots, more shots. And I just didn't think anything of it. I'm oblivious. I'm getting free shots because it's an open bar at a Christmas party. Like, and everybody thinks it's funny. Megan's getting wasted, taking like several shots of whiskey. Fast forward, and we're going to meetings at lunch. And then I looked up to this person as a mentor. There's no justification for what was done to me, but I ended up having a work meeting. I just got my real estate license, and I was kind of shifting out of the gym. And so I went in because he did all the meetings out of his house. Like most of the time, the meetings were out of his house. So it was just no big deal to me. I just not even like didn't even think anything of it. Well, why would he have my two favorite drinks? I've never been so drunk in my life. I woke up and it was not in a good situation. The daughters were trying to get me. I was terrified. I was terrified. I was crying. I was texting people like, I don't know what to do. I get home and was terrified. Like, the oldest daughter drove me home and dropped me off, and that was it. Nothing was said, nothing. I was terrified to tell my husband, didn't know how. Called my friend who's a counselor, and I, like, the next day, and I was just like, I need to talk to you. And I just started bawling. And she's like, Megan, you need to go to urgent care right now and get a blood test. And I didn't know what to do. I have no idea what to do. I've never been in this situation before, not even close. Anyways, I finally got the guts to tell my husband, and he's like, you need to call the police. Oh, yeah. Like, oh my gosh, this is gonna create so much. Well, I didn't call the police until he got off the phone with him, and my husband's like, you're calling the police right now. So we have it all on recording. Sheriff showed up and took me down to get a rape kit. And that, I mean, that's humiliating. So like, not only did I like get put in this situation, and then of course, you know, when you're going through it, you're like, why was I there? Why did I put myself in this situation? But when you trust somebody and, you know, you don't know any different. And I don't remember absolutely anything. I just remember waking up and my clothes were off, and it was a very, like, I felt guilty. I had so much shame. I was humiliated. I was like, all these things were just rushing through me. Nothing ended up happening. I know there needs to be an awareness of it, because not a women come forward because of situations like mine. There's no justice. And so it's one of those situations where you're full of emotions and you're so embarrassed and you don't know how to say anything to anybody. So I had to do the whole detective thing. That was my rock bottom. Like, finally, alcohol put me in a situation that I forever have to live with. I have to, you know, I've had to work through, I did EMDR therapy, and I didn't start that for probably a few weeks after this happened. And let me tell you, that is awkward to do. I don't know if anybody else had done EMDR, but you have to like relive all that, and it's so hard, it's so uncomfortable. But in the process of all that happening, so June 21st, so then my husband's not taking this well, him and my dad both actually, and went on the side by side and got in a wreck. So my dad ended up degloving his hand, had staples in his head, stitches in his wrist. I mean, it chipped too. It was a terrible experience. So like shortly after, and then that happened to me in June, then this happened in July, and then August, me and my like best friend had a ginormous falling out. And I'm like, this is like 3 terrible things back to back to back. Did it keep me from drinking? No. My friend and I had a falling out because of alcohol. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I talk about that in one of my videos, and I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard to see how much alcohol has devastated. I just kept going. When was enough enough? And it took 75 hard to, you know, finally like snap into my brain. You know, I've always listened to, you know, self-help stuff, and I don't know, there was just something about 75 hard. It got me through. I actually stopped EMDR therapy, but I still have to live with it. I mean, there's things that I'm still triggered by, like I can't watch certain things, or I can just, my body like holds it still. How many victims are blamed and the perpetrator is just like, well, like alcohol was involved, so, you know, but I have to live with that. Like, I have to live with the disgustingness of it. And I don't, how do you overcome something like that? Like,
yeah. We can't control people's reactions and how they respond to us. So
My best advice there is just keep boundaries around them.
But like nobody wants to put a boundary around alcohol and what alcohol is doing and how it's so toxic and ruining relationships. And I mean, the list goes on of how many people that I know that have died from it, ruined relationships, got divorced, I mean, lost their kids. I mean, the list goes on, like how detrimental this is. And when's the wake up call?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're having a little bit of a shift around alcohol in this past, few years, but I don't know that we'll ever get to the point where it's like cigarettes, like how in the 90s cigarettes were popular and now people are like, oh my gosh, you smoke, how dare you, I don't know that alcohol could ever get there. We're so inundated with subliminal messages, commercials, ads, you watch a TV show, there's always a drink in hand. I mean, we're constantly inundated with these messages about alcohol and how we need it to survive,
Right. Because it gives us the confidence and it makes us feel sexy. And I mean, it's a social lubricant.
It's so funny that you say that, though, because now that we're sober, if you go out to a bar, people do not look sexy when they're drunk.
No, it's so true. And I think the more I tell my people, like, don't go to events or anything until you're like completely ready. I went to an event and it was probably one of my first ones. And I just looking around, I was like, these people are ridiculous. That's how I acted. Like, oh my gosh, like no way.
Yeah, you think that you look sexy. You think you're a good dancer. You think you're funny. And then you get sober and you're like, oh my gosh, I was just a hot, hot mess. Not even hot.
Right? And then the passing out and the, losing the things, puking everywhere. I mean, it's just like
losing. Constantly was losing my phone, my keys, you name it, girl. I just want to thank you so much for sharing that part of your story. I can't even imagine how hard that was to speak it out loud. And I just want to thank you for being vulnerable because as women, so many women go through this. I would probably say like 1 in 4 women, maybe even more than that, have, and maybe not to the extent that it happened to you, but in some shape or form have been attacked in a certain way. And we need people like you to come out and be advocates for, people who have gone through these types of experiences because, if you hide in the shadows, the shame just grows. It just grows and grows and grows. And then nothing's ever done about it. And then that, going back to the subconscious of it all, taps into these people's subconscious and then directly affects their life until they die. So speaking out about it is extremely courageous. So I just wanted to thank you. I do have some follow-up questions. Is your husband sober now after that?
He actually got sober May of 2023 after Memorial Day weekend. My daughter actually was like, Daddy, isn't that killing you? And he never touched it again.
Wow. How has that changed your relationship? Like being, y'all were young when you got together and had kids young and were, kind of this drunk, fun party couple.
Yeah.
What's it like now being sober and in a relationship?
So I like say this quite often. I literally told him, I don't like you. I think we were probably like maybe a month in. I don't know. It was August. So we quit in July and I think it was August. And I was like, I don't like you. Like I don't know how to do this sober. I don't know you. Like we don't know each other. We don't know how to function. I mean, we've gotten past that and our fight, like the fights are, we get in typical, like marital fights, but they're not even fights anymore. And before it was like full on, like I'm gonna like scream and yell and throw a ginormous fit like a toddler, but it's helped us a lot. And our kids see us way differently now. Like they don't see us fighting constantly.
Yeah, that was my next question. How has it changed in motherhood for you to be sober now?
Patience is something that I'm still working on. I was not gifted with patience. I'm way more present. I coached volleyball for my daughter. I would have never done that if I was still drinking. So both my kids are in sports now. I coached a season. We do things now, like constantly. We just get to be a family. It's not my husband taking care of them anymore at night. It's me, cooking dinner, helping with bath time and bedtime, and being fully present. We snuggle, and my kids thrive. They are very physical touch is their love language, and I think it's because we snuggled all the time. But a lot of that time, I was just drunk, taking drunk selfies with them on the couch, and I look back at some of these pictures, and I'm like, I was not sober. Mm-hmm. So just being more present and available to them is probably one of the biggest things. And I think as moms, we don't realize how much we're actually missing out on our kids' life when we are too consumed by the bottle.
Yeah. I think, the biggest gift you can give your children is your own emotional well-being. And in getting sober, you did that. And I also think what you spoke on, presence, and also just your time. When you're
Hmm.
drinking, you become selfish. It's just part of the way the substance works in your body. It forces you into this selfish kind of nature. So when you eliminate it from your body, you have so much more energy and time for other people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we do so much more now than we would have if we were still drinking. I mean, my real estate business last year thrived. I mean, given there was other circumstances involved, but I mean, I was present. I was always available because I wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
I'd show up on a Saturday morning not hungover.
Yeah, you can get so much more done. And you have so much more brain power. I mean, when you're
Yeah.
drinking, your whole brain is just focused on when is my next drink? When is my next drink? And then when you stop drinking, you have so much more capacity to do other things, think about other
Yeah,
things. But I
exactly.
wanted to ask you a few more questions. You had talked about your parents. Were they drinkers when you were growing up? And, so when you were growing up, do you think you were mirroring that behavior or was it something you were just like curious about?
So it's funny. So we always joke like I'm like my dad, I'm my father's child, and my brother is my mother's child because my dad was the bigger drinker. I chose to drink. My brother is the smoker, and my mom smoked. So I don't know. I think it was just I mirrored it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. There's such a spectrum too.
Hmm.
Your story of sobriety is very interesting. Most people have like a significant event and then get sober after, or they have some type of spiritual awakening or spontaneous sobriety. But your story is really interesting. You had a significant event, and then a year later, you do this health challenge. And I think the competitiveness in you is really what helped you. I can relate
Yeah.
to this because I'm also very competitive with myself. And, it's just so interesting. You were halfway through this challenge, and then you probably saw all of the amazing health benefits and how you were feeling. And you were like,
Hmm.
this is the life that I want. Am I on track here
Yeah.
with how you felt? Yeah. My question for you there is, did you have any withdrawal symptoms or cravings during those times?
I had a really unfair advantage to quitting drinking because one, I couldn't have sugar, I couldn't drink, I had to work out, I had to drink the water. And so, and I don't know if my withdrawal was like me being tired, but I was tired, and I don't know if it was just from um, just the challenge itself. I didn't
Hmm.
have actual withdrawals. I was just hungover because I drank too much the night before. Cravings, I really dug into the sparkling water. It was, I mean, and a lot of people I talked to, it's the same thing. Sparkling water was our life.
Hmm.
And the sugar cravings, people ask me about sugar cravings. I couldn't have sugar. So I decided to make protein treats with chocolate protein powder, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Urges, maybe more so, but cravings, I don't think I had alcohol cravings. I took that dark energy, and Andy Frisella talks about it in one of his episodes. And my way of saying it is when people don't believe in you, it gives you more power to push through. So nobody believed that I could actually quit drinking for 75 days. And here I am. I'll be 2 years in July.
I love it. What are your goals moving forward? I know you have this amazing podcast and platform and you do coaching. What are your goals in the next few years?
I would like to write an actual book. I have some
Love it.
ebooks in my Google Drive, but I mean, I don't know. I'd like to create an actual program. I'd like to write an actual book. I would like to keep helping people and eventually maybe be on a stage helping, like talking to people, helping, and just stay in this space and just keep helping because I mean, maybe my story doesn't resonate with, everybody, but it will resonate with some people. I love when people say that I've helped them quit drinking. And I was like, little old me helped you quit drinking. And so I just want to stay being able to help people and put all my energy into, creating things to continue helping people.
I think that's such a foundation of sobriety is giving back. That's like pretty much the common denominator of people you see staying sober is that they've started to give back. They're connected to a community and they've learned to handle their stress. And it sounds like you've really done that and you've completely transformed your life. I mean, if you've looked around your life right now, you have a whole new life than you had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's amazing, especially given all the things that you went through.
Yeah. It's definitely, I look back and I'm still surprised at how far I've come.
And it's such a gift to your children for them to
It is.
see this version of you and to see you go through these hardships and come out a better person for it and an advocate for people who may still be suffering.
Yeah. And I think it's just all about being open, honest and willing, because when you become open and honest with your relationship with alcohol, it helps you be more willing to accept help. But until you're honest and open, I know too many people that just will not be honest about their problems, and it just keeps affecting them more and more. But
Yeah,
there
and you're
is
right.
there is hope out there.
There is. You're a perfect example of that. But I think you bring up a really good point. Like, I had to be open and honest with myself. Like, I was lying to myself. I was in complete denial about the harmful, relationship I had with alcohol. Once you're honest with yourself, then you have to be honest with other people. Like, it's a two-step process. But yeah, that's such a good point. So we have come to the lightning round of our episode. So I ask the same 5 questions to every guest. So the first question is, you're given 3 options. Would you shark dive, bungee jump, or skydive?
Skydive. I've already done it and I would do it again.
Okay. Have you done the other 2?
No.
Yeah.
I'd probably shark dive. Bungee jumping is one of those things I have nope, not doing it.
Yeah. I'm curious about it, but I don't know that I could ever. Someone would have to push me off or tandem jump with me.
For some reason, falling out of a plane and crashing to the ground seems a lot better than bungee jumping back up into that bridge.
Yeah, the pullback. You're so right. It's the pullback that's so scary.
It is.
Okay, you're in a simulation. The same song plays every time you walk into a room. What song is it?
Right now, in this, lately, probably Morgan Wallen, I'm the Problem.
Such a good song. Love country music, so. Okay, number 3. What is your favorite Disney movie? I know you have 2 kids, so you got to know some Disney movies.
My childhood favorite was Bambi.
So sad. They're all sad, though. Disney really supports single mothers.
You have a good point of that. Yeah, it's so true.
Bambi. Okay. Bambi's one of the originals. All right. Number 4. What is something you're obsessed with?
Obsessed with? I mean, a little, any more context?
So for me, I'm obsessed with running. Running's my passion. Oh. It's literally my identity. So what would be, what's your passion?
I love lower body workouts.
Okay.
I'm obsessed. I will do them every single day.
Leg day.
And get leg day for life. Yes, I know I'll get some hate for that, but
no.
I mean, you're working your glutes, or you're working your hammies, you're working your quads, or you're working your calves, or all the other muscles that are in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been finding myself just being I'm just gonna go do a 15-minute workout and just work out my butt. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of studies though about longevity and the larger gluteus maximus. So you might be onto something. So
yeah,
keep going, girl.
My passion is definitely weights and walk. I love working out.
Yeah, the weightlifting, and then it's so good for your brain. And then as women, as we age, the muscle goes away. So it's so good to have that weightlifting.
Yes, and a little. I don't know if too many people know this, but it actually, weight training helps with osteoporosis.
Yeah, your bone density.
Because your bone density. Yeah.
That's so right. Yeah. All right. Number 5. What does freedom mean to you?
Oh, that's a big one. Freedom. To live your life without shame and regret and worry. Since I got sober, the freedom of waking up knowing that everybody is safe and sound and I don't have to go back through my text messages or look at my social media posts.
Answered it perfectly. Freedom from the prison that alcohol puts us in. They say alcohol and addiction, it's the only prison where the locks are on the inside. And you broke free from that. So very cool. I can't thank you enough for coming on. You have an amazing story. It's going to help so many people. You're already helping so many people with the platform that you have. Just thank you from another person in recovery for doing what you do.
Well, I really appreciate you having me. I loved talking to you.
Yes. We'll have to do this again. Everyone loves when we collab. So
yes, I agree.
All right. Y'all can follow her at Sober Strong. She has YouTube. Anywhere else they can follow you?
If you go to my YouTube or my website is thesoberstrong.com, and you can email me, newsletters, all my platforms are right there.
Perfect. Yay. All right, girls. So good talking to you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.